Anyone recognize this one? Okay guys, welcome back to Wayne Manor North, and we are here for part 2 of my 3-part series room tour, and today we're going to talk about the artwork. So I'm going to take you through piece by piece. Some of these have more interesting and better stories than others, but I'm going to take you through a look at each one, tell you about how I procured that particular art, talk about sign pieces, convention pieces, canvases, you name it. Have a lot of art in the collection, and I'm really looking forward to diving in, and why don't we do that right now. Okay, but before we jump in, guys, I just wanted to share one thing with you. What I'm going to share with you today is the art that's on the walls today. Like statues, and like many of you, I do tend to rotate pieces through my collection. Although the art seems to stay longer, have better staying power. I do have other pieces that are in portfolios that I keep for display at a future time. So what you're going to see today are canvases in my collection and those pieces that I am displaying right now. So I will talk a little bit as we go about some of the other artwork that's either in the portfolios or framed and put away in storage. It's not a ton of it, but there's some pieces that I think you might find interesting along the way. So with that, why don't we jump in and let's get going. Okay, so let's get started. And what we're going to do, guys, we're going to start at the front wall of the collection. And again, pardon the backlight. It is middle of the afternoon here. Here's a quick look at White Knight because he's just too cool. Yeah, we're going to start at the front wall of the collection and just work our way around the room, and we'll also work out into the foyer. But yeah, let's get going. So this first one is a Batman White Knight convention piece that was signed by Sean Murphy at Wicked Comic-Con in 2022, and that one was great convention. Went with Eric B. from Wayne Manor North, from Rogues Gallery Live. First show I'd gone to in a couple of years after COVID, so that one was exciting and really an awesome time. This second piece was a, what do they call it? An AOK, an act of kindness. This was from fellow collector Matt Martin, and this is an original done by Neil McGregor here in 2022. And as you can tell, it is an homage to the, what I call Kelly Jones-esque Sideshow premium format, and I thought Neil did a great job on that. Would encourage you to take a look at his work. Again, Neil McGregor, thanks again to Matt Martin for sending this over to me. That was a tremendous gesture, and I love having it here in the collection, and it's kind of not too far away from the premium format that it represents. And then lastly, on this wall, we have another Sean Murphy piece of the Joker. This also is from White Knight, or the White Knight series, and you can see that's got a remark on it. This one was also done at Wicked Comic-Con in Boston, signed by Sean. Terrific artist, great guy. Highly encourage you to seek him out if you're at any of the fall conventions coming up. He's an awesome dude, really gracious, and loves to spend time chatting with the fans. And that's it, guys. Other than the windows, that's it on this wall for artwork. So let's move it along to the samurai wall. Okay, so what some of you guys might have noticed from the original room tour video when we talked about the room and the layout of the room is that I love to display my artwork behind the statues. I just think it brings the statues to life and creates a connection between the source material and the statues in three-dimensional form. I don't know, something about that aesthetic really appeals to me, and I have it throughout my collection. And I appreciate the kind words that everybody kind of has expressed after the first video. And I'm going to talk a little bit about layout as we go and give you some more hints and tips really about how I do this and how I plan for the artwork, etc. later in the video. But with that, why don't we go ahead and jump in, and I'll tell you a little bit about each piece. So, when displaying artwork behind statues and so forth, obviously the artwork in some cases is partially obscured, some more than others. It's okay with me. I don't mind that. You tend to get different angles on the artwork as you move through the collection or as you're walking through the room, and that's all right. But this first piece is entitled I Am Gotham. This was done by an artist named Necro. It is a giclée on paper. offered by Sideshow Collectibles. I was very fortunate. This is number 4 out of only 450 printed. This is custom framed by me. It is 18 by 26, and the signature that's on this one is an auto pen, meaning it's a certified signature that was procured by Sideshow in connection with offering this artwork with the artist. Moving on down in this line, this is The Batman by Alex Ross, absolutely one of my favorite artists. This also is a giclée on paper. It is number 57 of 200, as you can see here, and I kind of like this one. I know he's more obscure than most, especially if you look straight on because of the massive cape from Batman Hush, but that's okay. I think it's funny, the tone of this particular piece of artwork is kind of, Batman in the shadows, Batman kind of obscuring himself. So I kind of like it that way. Yeah, I like where this piece sits. And that is The Batman by Alex Ross. Okay, moving along to one of my more recent, I think I've had this for about a year and a half or so, but more recent acquisitions. This is, of course, The Batman Who Laughs. This one by a UK artist named Ben Oliver. Absolutely love his work. If you haven't checked him out, a lot of his work is represented in the Batman Who Laughs run, the 1 through 7 Batman Who Laughs in title book. But this one was offered by Sideshow Collectibles. This is number 20 of 400 in that collection. It is 18 by 24. And yeah, love this piece. It is fantastic. And again, I think it really fits nicely there next to the Batman. And as we move to the final piece on this row here, on this wall, this is the Grim Knight. It is an homage to Jim Lee's Batman 608. Really, really cool artwork there. You see the Batman Who Laughs actually is acting against the gargoyle in this one, and the Grim Knight on top. Really, really cool piece. Actually procured this one at New York Comic Con in 2019, where I had the opportunity to meet Tyler. Great guy. Again, another gracious artist. He signed this one for me. You can kind of see it over there in the corner. But yeah, it was really awesome opportunity to meet him, and I love the artwork. As we move into the middle row on this wall, what you see here is some of Greg Capullo's work. Greg is one of my top 3 artists, has been for a long time, really going back to his initial work on the Batman New 52 run, my favorite Batman run. But this is taken from the cover, number 39A. This is the primary cover from New 52 of number 39. This is just a high definition print on paper. There is no limited edition on this one. This was a convention print, no limited edition. It is 13 by 19, and it is signed, as you can see there, by Greg. And just really enjoy this piece. I just really maniacal, great depiction of the Joker. Some of Greg's covers are absolutely my favorite. So love having that here in the collection, and this one was custom framed by me as well. As we move right, this is a piece I get a lot of comments on. Didn't expect that, but when I brought, earlier this year, I brought the Samurai Poison Ivy into the collection. I wanted a print to go behind her, and I kind of bumped into this one. It was sold out at the time. I bought this on the secondary market through Facebook Marketplace, through the BS Buy-Sell Trade Group in the BSC, which if you haven't checked out, please do. Awesome place to connect with some really great collectors. But this particular piece was offered through Sideshow. It's long sold out. The artist's name is Kendrick Lim. This is number 27 out of only 250 offered on this print, which is a really low print run. It is 18 by 26. And this one was framed by Sideshow. And I have to tell you guys, I have a number of pieces from Sideshow, some on display, some not right now, but they do a fantastic job. They really do a quality job with their framing. And I find when you kind of price it out, if you happen to, like I used to at least, get my prints framed at a local print shop or Michael's or one of those places, I think that Sideshow for the money does a fantastic job. So, but this is a beautiful print nonetheless. Kendrick Lim is a terrific artist. I mean, the portrait on that is just gorgeous. I'm a stickler for anatomy, and I think he does a great job. Really like Kendrick's work. Okay, moving along. Next one is one of my favorite Jim Lee images, hands down, across all of his work. This is from Justice League number 8. This was a variant cover that he did for that particular book. This is a high definition print on paper. This was a convention print, and this is number 6 out of only 25 that were signed by Jim Lee, Alex Sinclair, and Scott Williams. For those of you who aren't so connected to the artwork, you'll notice I have a few pieces from Jim Lee where I talk about these 3 particular artists. Jim, of course, is the penciler and the primary concept artist. Scott Williams is his inker and has been for a long time, many, many years, his primary inker. And lastly, you have Alex Sinclair, who has done a lot of Jim's color work over the years. And they are kind of the dynamic trio, if you will, of Jim Lee art, and all 3 of them have signed this particular piece, but I absolutely love this one. This one I had custom framed by a print shop that I'll talk about later in the video to give you guys some pointers on where you might want to get your pieces framed. But yeah, this is one of my favorite Jim Lee images. I actually have the book, CGC 9.8, signed by Jim. And one book that I'm trying to hunt down right now for a reasonable price, that is there is a pencil sketch variant of this book that I'm looking to bring into my collection. But anyways, that is The Joker, Justice League number 8 by Jim Lee. Moving along, we have the second to last piece on this wall. We have the Batman Detective Comics 1000 cover by Jock. Really powerful image. This is one that sat kind of on Sideshow for a while. I took advantage of one of their, I don't remember which holiday sale it was, but I got it at a 10% discount, I think it was. This one's only auto-penned by Jock, which is fine, but this is number 2 of only 300 of this piece. And guys, this one is a really, really powerful, like I said, really powerful image. I think it looks great. It's an extreme close-up, obviously, of the Dark Knight, but if you, next to that Joker, I just think it's, 2 close-up images next to each other. I thought it looked really cool. Jock is one of my favorite artists as well. And I have a cool story about him that I'll tell you in a little bit here. But yeah, that is Batman Detective Comics 1000 variant by Jock. And moving over, I do have a smaller piece here on the end. This is entitled Batman the Dark Knight. It is by Mark Chilcott. And Mark does a lot of work together with Bottleneck Gallery. And this is one that was offered through them. I don't buy a ton through Bottleneck. No particular reason. It's just not where I've procured a lot of my artwork. But this is one that I have. And actually, I'll be talking about another one here in a couple of minutes. But I do have a couple pieces that I've procured through Bottleneck here in the collection. This one is an artist proof, an AP edition. So it's a very, very early print from this run. I don't know the edition size. I couldn't find that. But anyways, this is one that just really kind of caught my attention. I mentioned it in the first video, but you guys can tell I'm kind of in a dark and gritty kind of aesthetic here in the collection, and I just felt this one was really, really super cool. Mark is a fantastic artist. Again, Mark Chilcott. This one is an 11 by 17, so it's a smaller piece. Framed it myself. But yeah, really enjoy his work. Okay, you guys hanging with me? We're gonna move on to the bottom row here, then we're gonna make our way around to the other side of the collection here. Hope you're hanging with me, hope you're enjoying this. I have a lot of questions about the artwork all the time, which I love talking about, of course, but yeah, let's move on to the next row. All right, one thing I didn't talk about, guys, in the first video was this lower shelf here on the samurai wall where I have some of my favorite books. I have a whole bookcase downstairs on the lower level of my home, the lowest or basement level, I guess you could say, where I have a whole bookcase of Batman books. But this is where I keep some of my favorites, at least for now. I think what's going to end up happening is there's going to be a couple of samurai pieces that are moving into the collection soon, particularly the Red Hood and the new Scarecrow designed by Amilcar Fong, who's just a phenomenal artist and all-around great guy. So shout out to Amilcar. But yeah, I keep some books here right now, but I think there's going to be a few statues moving in. But anyways, let's talk about the artwork that's behind them. This is the Joker. This was the Joker Villain of the Year cover that was done by Gabriel Del Otto and offered through Bulletproof Comics, who I procured this directly from in New York City. I'm not sure the edition size on this. I know it's a limited edition. I want to say it was around 150. It was either 150 or 200, I think. But this is printed on what they call a museum rag, which is a canvas-like, a little bit thinner, but a canvas-like material. It is 13 by 19, and because of the books that are in front right now, you can't quite see the signature, but that is an awesome piece that I also framed myself, and love that depiction of Joker by Gabriel. So now let's move along to the next print. This one is what I find to be, oh, you can see my notes there in the reflection, a really kind of disturbing depiction of the Joker. This is from the Joker, from Batman primary cover from New 52. This is cover 13I. And this was a limited edition convention print. This is signed by both Greg Capullo. Let me see if I can sneak in here. Yeah, you can see down there, Greg Capullo and Scott Snyder signed this one. I just always found this a really disturbing cover. Just a great piece. I framed this one myself, and yeah, really like that one. Okay, let's talk about this one. This is kind of an interesting piece. Also procured this one on the secondary market a long time ago. I think I've had this 5 or 6 years now. But this one is Batman number 21B cover from the New 52 run that Jock did. I'm not sure it's picking it up on camera, but the bat symbol that is, I kind of think it's kind of hovering over Gotham. Yeah, you can see down there. But this one's signed by Snyder, Scott Snyder, the writer, and Jock, of course, but it's signed in 2014. So this would have been signed right around the time that book actually came out. So really, really cool. Love this piece. A lot of detail that probably isn't coming through on camera. I'm hoping that it is, but a lot of texture in that particular work by Jock, and some really cool colors, really cool uses of blue hues as well as black and white. Love that cover. Jock is absolutely my top 5 artists, but yep, love that piece. And moving over to the last piece on this wall, on this row, I should say. This is, of course, the Death of the Family Joker. This is a convention print, a lithograph that was offered by Greg Capullo a couple of years back. I believe I got this at New York Comic Con in 2018. It is signed by Greg. You can see down there. This is a very limited edition. It is number 15 out of only 200 offered. And if you think about, convention prints being offered at some of these really big conventions like New York Comic Con and others, to get an edition size of 200 on a really, really sick looking piece of art like this is just, I think it's really special. I think it adds a nice pop of color. I'll steal that term from Chris, or the Batman statue collector, a pop of color in the collection. And I just think the artwork, once again, Capullo does a phenomenal job of bringing the Joker to life and, his twisted nature on the page for us. So another awesome piece of work by Greg Capullo. All right, and now we're moving on to the next wall. The wall that, if you remember from the first video, this is the wall that connects out to my kitchen out there, kitchen area, I should say. The door's there, but anyways, this is, if you've been watching Rogues Gallery Live for any period of time, you know that Jim Lee is my favorite comic book artist, amongst all others. But this is Batman over San Prospero that Jim did several years ago from his home in Italy, and inspired by the architecture around him, did this painting. It is number 25 out of only 100 offered. This is a giclée on canvas, so no glass on this one. This was framed and offered through the Chuck Jones Gallery. My wife purchased this for me as a birthday present in 2014 while we were visiting San Diego Comic Con. Went to the Chuck Jones Gallery right around the corner from the convention center. Saw this, fell in love with it, walked away, and then my wife surprised me with it for my birthday. So, yep, love that piece. All right, now as we move down, I've got a piece hiding back here a little bit. This is I mentioned I had another piece from Bottleneck Gallery. This is one of the others I have on display right now. This, of course, is Batman Begins. If that image looks familiar, it's probably because it's an homage to the Batman Begins movie posters. It's a kind of an iconic image of the Batman from that series. But this is also by Mark Chilcott, excuse me. This is a giclée on paper, and this is a Mondo piece that was offered in connection with Bottleneck. So love that. Also signed by the artist, can't quite see it. But like I said, I know some of these pieces are partially obscured, and that would probably bug some people. For me, I just think it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of interesting as you walk around the statues and you get a different point of view and see more, you know, of a particular piece of art, you know, from a different direction, or, you know, you see the whole piece here but that direction, the Jim Lee piece, you know, you see more of Ivy, you know, from this direction. It just kind of, I think it's kind of cool to get these little peeks and views, etc., as you move through the collection. And the artwork is kind of revealed to you as you walk around. And as we move to this side of the doors, the piece that's displayed up high here is Batman versus Joker, Poison Ivy, and Penguin. I call it Batman versus the Rogues, but that's how it's technically listed by Bulletproof Comics. It's offered by Bulletproof in conjunction with Gabriel Del Otto, of course. This piece is signed, although it's signed in black there in the corner, which I hate when artists do that when they sign in a dark color on a dark background, but it is a signed piece. It is a limited edition. It is quite large. It's 19 by 27, and then even larger in the custom frame that I have it in. So yeah, it's a terrific piece of art. Again, offered through Bulletproof. I believe all of Gabriel's work in the US is done in partnership with Bulletproof. All right. Now I am going to share with you guys 3 of my favorite pieces in the collection. This one was just procured earlier this year. This is an original Batman done by Sean Murphy. And this one, I have the frame set up so that you can't see it, but this one is actually in plastic. It is one of 2, I believe, that I have that are CGC artwork. So this is not a comic cover, not a book of any kind, but it is CGC'd artwork, so proven authentic, if you will. But this is about a 9 by 12 total size piece, so it's a little bit small, but man, the detail in this artwork, and I apologize for the reflections here. Let me try and move around here a little bit. Move around, there you go. That's kind of a good view. So you can see the sketch work that Sean is so known for, that kind of cross-hatching. I love it. I love this piece. But yeah, that's an original Batman by Sean Murphy. Man, just an awesome piece. Now, as we go left, right next to it, is another one of my favorite. I had chased this piece for a while. This was a depiction of Mr. Freeze, of course, that was done by Jim Lee. And Jim did this on his Twitch stream, which Jim's tried a couple of different streaming, you know, services and approaches over the last few years. This is one that he did in 2018, so this was an early one. This is pre-COVID. But a lot of times what he'll do is he'll do a Twitch stream, and you know, he'll give the original away to one of the stream viewers, one of the live stream viewers. But after the stream, sometimes with some of the more popular pieces, and you'll see he did this more recently with a Penguin piece earlier this year, where he'll do a limited edition print run. This one is number 8. If I can zoom in, see Jim Lee 2018, his signature, and then number 8 of only 25 that they printed, and then his live signature there in pencil. But yeah, I love this depiction of Freeze. I just think it's awesome. You can see the blue line in there a little bit. You can see the pencil work in there, all the ink work, the cross-hatching that Jim is also known for in a similar sense to Sean Murphy, but I just absolutely love this. This is my favorite. It is my favorite piece of art of Mr. Freeze. And coincidentally enough, I'll show you in a little bit as we move into the foyer another piece of Freeze art that is in my top 3 by Sean Murphy. So kind of coincidence, but look at that Nora. I don't know, you can just feel the character through that art. Absolutely love it. Okay, and now we're going to move over to, I believe this is my most recent acquisition. This one, guys, is super special. This is an original by Lee Bermejo. That's in an 8x10 frame to give you a sense of the size of the print, but it is 100% original work, actually made available to me through a very good friend. I'm not going to mention him by name, but a very good friend here in the community. You know who you are. I know you're watching this video, so I appreciate it a great deal. The opportunity to get an original Lee Bermejo piece is rare. Lee does a lot of remarks, but he doesn't do a lot of commissions. And I would say this one, the detail on this piece is off the charts. I mean, it's crazy, crazy good. I've never seen one like this by Lee. I've only seen remarks, little doodles. I've had a couple actually, but this is insane. And this came directly from him, has amazing provenance, his signature there. And I'm going to talk about framing a little bit more here at the end of the video, because I know some of you might have questions about that, so we'll talk about that shortly. But this amazing piece, yeah, now has a place of honor here in the collection. So let's move on. All right, let's move down from the Lee Bermejo art to this piece by Shannon Mayer down here in the corner. I have a couple of pieces by Shannon. I believe this might be the only one I have on display right now. I also recently acquired a piece by Shannon, a Poison Ivy piece at Terrificon in Connecticut that I attended with a few folks here from the community, including Eric B. of Rogues Gallery Live and a couple of other folks. So again, I'm not going to mention people by name in case they don't want to be mentioned. But we had a great time. This piece I actually got in 2019 at Boston Comic-Con, signed by Shannon. And Shannon's signature is fairly simple. Let me see if I can zoom in on it for you. There it is there in gold. But this is from the Harley Quinn Poison Ivy book, #1. And at another time, I'll show you that Poison Ivy piece. It's not framed yet. It is downstairs in a portfolio. So yeah, love his work. Shannon's work on women is just phenomenal. So love this piece. All right, continuing on this, this what I call the Shiplap wall. Some of you may remember from the original room tour. This wall has some of the heavy hitters, some of the bigger pieces in my collection. I've got several lights on, guys, so I apologize if you're getting any glare, but I wanted to see if I could get as much light as I could on some of these. But some of the heavy hitters in the collection. Let's talk first about this one. This, of course, is May I Cut In? The artwork by Alex Ross that was followed, the follow-up to Tango with Evil that we'll talk about in just a moment, but this is on canvas. This I procured through Charles Carosa from Choice Fine Art, bought at New York Comic-Con in 2019, directly from the Choice Fine Art booth there at the show. But this is signed by Alex there in silver, and this is number 62 of 100, done in this edition. For those of you interested in the size, this is a 20 by 30 canvas, and as you can tell, there's no glass. But this was also framed in the, I think it's called Deluxe by Choice Fine Art, but this is their highest level of framing. It's got an aluminum kind of inner frame there that really kind of sets off the work really nicely, especially when the work is largely black like this one is. But yeah, love this artwork. I mean, come on, that's just awesome. So yeah, but this is the follow-up to this one. This is an extremely special piece. This is probably my favorite piece of artwork in the collection. The I'll carry this one out in a fire kind of piece. This one was made available to me 2 years ago, year and a half, 2 years ago, again through Charles at Choice Fine Art. He gave me a call one day, let me know that they had run into this piece. So this, of course, is an absolutely iconic piece of artwork. This was the artwork or imagery that was used for the iconic Harley Quinn book. And it is absolutely stunning. This piece of art was professionally restored as it had been damaged early on. This is from 2003. It was originally offered by Clampett, which is one of the art galleries that Alex works with. but it was procured much later, just a couple years ago by Choice Fine Art. But what makes this one special, guys, this one is number 1 in the collection. There's another artist proof that sits in the Clampett Gallery, but this is the official number 1 made available to the public, of only 100 offered. And I feel very privileged to own it. It was restored masterfully by a professional museum quality restoration artist and gallery. And I absolutely love this piece. And camera work just does not do it justice, especially my camera work. But yeah, it's just a phenomenal piece of art. Okay, moving on. I've got a few small pieces here in between the two Alex Ross canvases. This first one was picked up by a local artist at Rhode Island Comic-Con a few years back. I have to be honest, this I think is the only piece of art. I do not know the artist's name. I just loved this little piece of art. I thought it was great. It is Batman Arkham, obviously, but it's done in inks and watercolors, and her signature is on the piece, but I can't make out the signature, and I feel badly featuring her piece of art in a video like this, but I just don't know her name. But anyways, just a nice little piece that I always really liked. The next piece in this row of 3 is The Batman Who Laughs, of course. This is done by Miko Soyan. I met Miko for the first time at New York Comic-Con, where I procured this one. I just thought it was a really cool depiction of Batman Who Laughs. Miko is a really great guy, very soft-spoken guy, very humble, but I just think his work in detail and color is fantastic. So, yep, love it. That is signed by him. This is not a limited edition, but nonetheless a convention piece that I picked up that I just really like and thought it fit well. Okay, I talked about recent acquisitions with the Bermejo piece and completely forgot this extremely special piece. So I framed this one up myself. But what this is a prelim sketch, original, done by J. Scott Campbell for the Joker #1 piece that you may recognize right here. I have the book in my collection, Joker #1 variant by J. Scott Campbell, but the opportunity to own a prelim that is of the exact pose that he ended up going with, the exact concept, even elements within it, I couldn't pass that up. So this is an original done in 2021 by J. Scott Campbell. So wanted to frame it up with the cover, which you see there. And yeah, I just thought it made an awesome addition to the collection. And moving down, so this piece is by Victor Garduno. Really, really cool artist out of the Vegas area. This, of course, is the Batman, featuring Robert Pattinson. Of course, this is an artist proof. So this is, I don't remember exactly what the limited edition or the edition size was on this one, but really, really terrific artist, does a really nice job on these. This is a giclée on museum rag. So the quality of the substrate, the paper, if you will, or the canvas is really, really nice. It's 14 by 18. And although you can't see it there because it's on the other side, this one is signed, of course, by the artist. And Victor does a great job. Big shout out to Victor in Las Vegas. Absolutely love his work. Next up in the middle, this, of course, is the iconic Black Mirror artwork that was done by Jock. And as you can see here, this is a limited edition, another convention giclée. This was number 96 of 100. This is a 13 by 19 piece. And it is a lithograph done on paper. Very simple design, but I think very iconic in terms of its depiction of the Dark Knight. Right, and we're going to keep it moving. This is The Bat and the Cat by Natalie Sanders. Phenomenal artist. If you haven't seen Natalie's work, go out to her website. Her drawings and paintings of women are unbelievable. They are photorealistic, just absolutely gorgeous. This is, as I said, is The Bat and the Cat. This is an 11 by 17 that is signed by Natalie. Actually procured this right from her website, directly from the artist. Just really love the artwork. This was a cover, a variant cover. I believe this was used for Batman 100. I didn't put that in my notes, but if I remember correctly, this was a Batman 100 cover. And could correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me in the comments, guys, below if I'm incorrect on that one. It was either Batman 100 or Detective Comics 1000. Maybe it was the latter. Maybe it was Tech 1000. But at any rate, this is a variant cover artwork that she did, and I absolutely love it. This one was also custom framed by myself, and just looks really cool. All right, hopefully you guys are hanging with me. We're going through these, I know, a little bit fast, and if you have any questions for me, please put them in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer them. There's a lot on the walls here. There's a lot to cover. I've got a little bit left on this back shiplap wall, and then I'm going to take you out into the foyer to have a look at those pieces. But again, I apologize if this is a little long. Wasn't quite sure how to tackle this video. I figured just kind of one at a time and give you the highlights, try to answer any questions that I know that I've heard in the past from viewers of the channel, and just trying to give you my initial thoughts, or my thoughts on the pieces as we go. So if there's anything that you want to know, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. And as I said, I will do my absolute best to get to them, as I always do. Or you can reach out to me directly, PM me in the group. You can find me in Batman Statue Collector Facebook group, as well as some of the other collecting groups, including Secret Sanctuary and others. Or you can just question here, and I'm happy to answer them. So at that, let's keep going. Let's go through the shiplap wall and get out into the foyer. And then I've got a few other things that I wanted to cover with you at the end. Again, try to answer any questions that you might have. So let's get to it. All right, this next piece is a real special one. Just brought this into the collection earlier this year. Bought on the secondary market. But this is a giclée on paper, deckled edge, which is, you see that rougher edge on the edges? That's kind of that's called a deckled edge. But this is a giclée on paper, black and white. This is the concept artwork that Jim Lee did for the Batman. And you might remember earlier this year when Jim did this work, the design work for DC Fandom in promotion of the Batman. This is the artwork that Jim did. So he did a limited edition of these giclées. This is sorry guys, I'm referring to my notes. This is number 3 of 100, and a very small handful of these he did remarks on, and that is an original Jim Lee Batman, done in pencil, signed by Jim there. You see the number over there. But yeah, that's a pencil sketch done by Jim Lee, which for me is extremely special. Having anything original by Jim is absolute grail status to me. So that little drawing's only about 3 inches square, 4 inches, and but really cool having an original Jim Lee Batman in the collection on this really cool piece of artwork. And you heard me mention in my first video that I have the Prime 1 Jim Lee concept version of the Batman, that statue in 1/3 coming in. This is what I'm going to pair it with. So yeah, you'll be seeing that later down the road. All right, moving over, next to that Jim Lee piece is this really cool convention lithograph done by Greg Capullo. This, of course, is his variant for Tech 1000. Very, very small number of these were made available. These giclées, guys, these convention giclées, you think because they're done at conventions that they're easy to find. They're not. This one is, some of these are really hard to hunt down. Chris actually has one in his collection that I love from New 52 Batman that I just cannot find anywhere. It's a convention edition that I think he got at Planet Comic-Con in Kansas a while back. But anyways, this is number 10 of only 15. Now the weird thing about this one, this is a convention print that, that was only made available at conventions, probably New York Comic-Con or San Diego. And again, number 10 of 15. What's weird, this one's not signed. So kind of strange. So this one's actually being taken out of its frame this year. And in another month or so, when I head out to New York Comic Con, I'm going to bring this with me and I'm going to have Greg sign it. So yeah, but love the artwork on that one. Okay, next up on this section of the wall is, yep, you guessed it, another Greg Capullo piece of artwork of the Joker. This is actually on a museum rag. This is on canvas. So that is a lithograph on canvas. This is number 2 out of only 15 that were offered. Another small edition size, guys. So when you see those convention prints, the lesson here is pick them up if you like them, because they're really hard to find afterwards. And this one is just stunning. Custom framed this one myself. But yeah, That's the Joker by Greg Capullo. Doesn't get much more iconic Harley Quinn than this. This one was done by an artist I bumped into at Wicked Comic-Con, the show I was mentioned earlier that Eric B. and I attended here in Boston earlier this year. The artist's name is Josh Swaby, and you can see Josh's signature there. This is another piece that's a lithograph on a very nice high-end museum quality deckled edge paper. So yeah, beautiful depiction of Harley. I love this suit, as I know a lot of you guys do. I was looking for Harley Quinn. I think it's just kind of different. You know, most images you see of Harley Quinn, she tends to be overly sexualized and, I don't know, just not terribly appealing. I don't think that's the only aspect of the character that needs to be featured in artwork, but unfortunately it is the case. This to me just captures more of the essence of the character, and I just really liked it. I thought the red background was really cool. The whole piece I thought was really well executed, and I just loved it. Just one of those that when you bump into it, you're just like, wow, you know, this is something special and fits perfectly in my collection. And yeah, Josh Swaby, shout out to you, brother. You did a great job on this one, and I appreciate having your work in my collection. Okay, on this side, first up, this is The Face of Villainy by Alex Ross. Kind of peeking through behind the Dark Knight and Harley Quinn there. This is number 108 of 275 in this edition. This is a giclée on paper. I acquired this on the secondary market as well. But absolutely iconic piece. I love the extreme close-up. I don't know if the detail comes through, but Alex Ross's work is, I mean, really second to none in terms of that painting or painted style artwork. But yeah, phenomenal piece. I love having the kind of the different aspect ratios, if you will, of artwork in my collection. So I love the close-ups. You'll see next as we move to this piece by Brian Rood. This is a Dark Knight piece that he did, as you can see. But Brian is an artist that's probably most well known for his work in the Star Wars realm. But this is an 18 by 24 piece. This is number 2. This was offered through Sideshow, and I've been really lucky with Sideshow in terms of the editions that I've got. This is, as I said, this is number 2 out of only 300. But just when this arrived and I got number 2, I was psyched. I don't know why the low number really matters to me, but I just thought it was really cool. And I had been looking for a Dark Knight piece like this, and I just thought this one was absolutely perfect. But you can see there, signed by Brian with the edition number. But I love the way this piece looks behind the Queen Studios 1/3 Dark Knight, as well as, of course, the Prime 1 Joker in 1/3. Yeah, love it. Well, that about does it for inside the collection room for what's on display right now. I hope you enjoyed all of these pieces. I am going to take you for one last step out into the foyer of the house, where I have a number of pieces of art, some of them actually really cool, that I wanted to show you before we moved into our closing parts of this particular video. So let's go out to the foyer and I will show you what's on display out there. Let's go. Okay, first up we have a canvas. This one was again purchased through Choice Fine Art. This is a 21 by 29 inch canvas. This, of course, by Alex Ross. This is Batman and the Grim Gargoyles. This is number 26 of 100. You see Alex's signature, iconic signature now there, and the numbering in the corner. But yeah, love this piece. Have had this for a number of years here in the collection, and just love it. It is simple yet highly effective and depicts the character, I think, really, really well. And this is one of those pieces, guys, that on canvas is really different than on giclée paper. Something about the texture of the canvas and the way that the ink moves in and out of the pores on the canvas gives it a real sparkle. So with this image depicting Batman and the gargoyles in the rain especially, I don't know, just something really different when the light hits it. So if you have the opportunity to check this one out in canvas, highly recommend it. All right, next up is this Batman 608 homage. This was a commission that I did with an artist earlier this year. The artist's name is Rudy Al. spelled A-O. So shout out to Rudy if he's watching this. Did a phenomenal job on this piece of art. This is oils on canvas. Just a terrific depiction. I had asked him for a 608 homage that was done in the art aesthetic of the Batman movie, and I think he just did a phenomenal job. The artwork is 11 by 17 and framed up by me. But yeah, Rudy did an awesome job. So let's move on over to the other side of this entry into the study here at Wayne Manor North. This one you probably recognize. This was offered through Sideshow Collectibles. This one is entitled The Birth of Batman by Alan Williams. And again, I was talking to you guys about the edition size. I just have to call this out because I just think it's awesome. I don't know if you guys can see that there. It's not coming into focus with the glare. But anyways, I wanted to share that with you. It's number 2 of 300. So real low edition and real low edition size. This is a giclée on paper. I just think it's a beautiful piece of art. Really captured my attention. I just thought kind of dark, but at the same time really cool. So yeah, that's that one. And as we move down, I mentioned to you a few minutes ago in this video a couple of my favorite depictions of Freeze. See if I can get out of the reflection. This is one of those. This is from the White Knight series. This is Mr. Freeze, of course, with Nora. This is a convention print, side by Sean, as you can see there. But just love this depiction of Freeze. I think it brings all of the emotion and all of the kind of the nature of the character and why Freeze is who he is, and captures it in one moment in time. So love this. Hence the reason it's in my foyer. Moving over to this piece. This comes also from Wicked Comic-Con earlier this year when Eric and I met Sean Murphy there in Boston. I had asked Sean to do a remark for me on just a blank piece of paper, and this is 8 by 10. That's what size that frame is. So this is the Joker, of course, done in black and red and signed by Sean. But how cool is that? I just think it looks awesome next to his cover artwork from the White Knight. I mean, he did that about 30 seconds. It was crazy watching him work. But yeah, I love that piece. So love having it out here in the foyer and just kind of lurking back there behind the Batman Noel. Which takes us to the last 2 pieces we're going to talk about today. So this print procured by Sideshow, or from Sideshow I should say, is of course done by Jock. This was from the cover of All-Star Batman number 6. This was number 5 of 300, offered by Sideshow. This is a giclée on paper. It is 14 by 20, and then you have the frame on top of that, of course. But I just thought, how cool having a Batman in the snow in the entrance here at Wayne Manor North. And lastly, the last piece we're going to talk about today is this one by Nathan Zerdy. So this one, I actually had the opportunity to meet Nathan at Rhode Island Comic-Con in, I think this one came in 2017 or 18, I don't recall. At any rate, though, I had the opportunity to meet Nathan, got this from him at his table there, and I thought it was just really cool. And as many of you know, from if you had the opportunity to watch the first video in the room tour, you know that I'm a bit of a history buff, particularly World War II. And this one is a World War II photo homage to a photo that you probably recognize from World War II. It was a photo taken by a gentleman by the name of Alfred Eisenstadt, and it was originally a sailor, a U.S. sailor, and a nurse, actually a dental assistant, that he kissed on a whim in Times Square, and the photo was featured in Life magazine. Well, Nathan did homage to that of Joker and Harley in the same situation. You see Ivy back there, and you see Penguin, and off to the left you can see Riddler. It's just a really, really cool piece. I just thought it was really well done. You see Nathan's signature there. And yeah, just a really cool piece of art. All right, guys, let's wrap up this video. Really appreciate you taking the time to walk through it with me. I thought what I'd do here at the end is answer a few questions that I get on a really regular basis about the artwork. One of them is, A, where do you get it? And as you probably gathered through, as I took you through the collection, a couple of key places. One of them are conventions, where I really enjoy meeting the artists and spending time with the people who create these amazing characters, amazing artwork. That's probably the primary place that I really enjoy procuring artwork. Second piece, Choice Fine Collectibles, working with Charles Carrozza on a number of the canvases that you saw here in the collection, as well as a couple of others that aren't on display right now that I'll share with you at another time. I highly encourage, if you're going to seek out canvases, some of the bigger dollar stuff, go with people you trust. Don't buy from somebody that you don't know. Be very, very careful with eBay. Be very, very careful with other secondary markets. Really buy from a trusted source. These are expensive pieces of art. Many of them are forged. I've seen many forgeries, many canvases, Alex Ross pieces, for example. I've seen forgeries. I know people that have fallen victim to really, just really bad sellers that are selling stolen pieces, forged pieces, etc. It happens, so really be careful. The next piece that I wanted, or the other place that I procure them through are through the artists themselves. So don't be afraid to reach out to the artists themselves. I mentioned to you that I'd reached out to Natalie Sanders. She had a couple pieces on her website, but not what I was looking for. I reached out to her directly and was able to do that. Talk to other collectors that might have understand inroads to various artists. Believe me, it happens. You might not think it does, but it does. So I would encourage you to do that. And as I said, find out connections to the artists through visiting them at conventions. A lot of the artwork that you've seen here is through kind of indirect channels that were established at conventions by speaking to the artists and representatives of the artists, etc. That's a great way to do this. And lastly, I would say collect what you love. As I said in the first video, you can tell here that I have a pretty broad variety of artwork through a handful of artists that I just really love, that I find enjoyment in. So I would encourage you to do that. And then with that, I want to move on to one last question. That is, how do I organize all this stuff? I've got a lot of comments that I really appreciate from my first video about how people really enjoy how the art is laid out. So I want to talk a little bit about that. So let's get into that last question before we wrap, and that is, how do I organize all this stuff? As you can tell, there's a lot of artwork here, and it's really challenging laying it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the camera around and I'm going to show you guys exactly how I manage my art. Okay guys, here we are behind the camera. I want to give you a sneak peek, not a sneak peek, a peek at how I organize my artwork. And this may seem a little over the top to some of you guys, but this is how I do it, right? So I think it's part of the enjoyment of collecting is how you organize, whether that's comic books or artwork or statues, but basically did a basic layout. This is the front windows wall with those three pieces of art that I have to the right, but I've got each piece of art identified with who the artist is, what size the artwork is, etc. And I've got that for each wall in my collection. That's the layout of the Shiplap wall. You can see some of the pieces that I showed you earlier. This is what I call the Foyer wall. The pieces there. Moving over, Samurai wall and all the artwork there. Around the front door, the kitchen wall, etc. So that's how I organize it. Yeah, so that's how I organize the room, guys, in terms of artwork. I find it to be the easiest and most digestible way, if you will, of how to understand where the artwork is going, how it's going to fit in relationship to other pieces of art, where I might have gaps, where I might have pieces that I'm ready to retire or move out of the collection. Yeah, I just find it to be the most effective way to do it. It's a little bit daunting getting up and getting the whole thing laid out at first, because you're capturing each piece of art, and as you can tell, there's quite a bit, or at least in my opinion, there's quite a bit. So this is the easiest way to manage it. And once it's up and running, as long as you stay on top of it, it works really well. So the other piece though that I did think of, I know I said this was the last piece, but the other piece that I did think of that I wanted to mention was framing. So there are a couple of framing services that I use that I think do a really nice job. They're really accurate with their cutting for mats. They're really decent, nice quality frames. I don't go out and spend thousands of dollars on framing, guys. I think the money is better spent in the artwork. Where I do spend money is in UV protection. So if you are putting the artwork in a room where there's natural light, whether that's direct or indirect sunlight, you want to use UV protectant glass. Every piece in this room has UV protectant plexi. I don't use real glass. I think it's too heavy and I think it's too delicate. And I think if the print drops for whatever reason in the frame, and that has happened to me, you risk the broken glass damaging the artwork. Plexi, you won't do that. What I tend to use is museum quality plexi that blocks 100% of UV light. And I also use regular plexi, meaning not the matte finish. I think that dulls the contrast too much. So I use regular, not high gloss, but I guess standard plexi from that standpoint. And then one more thing. The other piece that I wanted to mention is all of the artwork that you see here, with exception of the Band of Brothers very large print that I have there, that has a different type of frame. It's extremely heavy. I hung it with traditional frame hanging hardware. Pretty much all of the other artwork that you see here is hung using 16-pound command strips. So typically, on say an average piece that's, 14 by 20 and it's framed and it's got the plexi front, etc. I'll use 16-pound command strips, usually one vertical on each side on the uprights of the frame and then two at the top. And it more than holds the prints up, guys. You don't need to be filling your walls with holes and trying to figure out hardware. And I simply use the command strips. I use a level when I put them up, and then I lay them out. I think the other thing that you'll notice from a layout standpoint in my collection is symmetry. I think that's a lot of reason why it is appealing to so many people, is the symmetry of it. I think the fact that it's not just kind of random heights and spaces and so forth. There's symmetry of the heights, there's symmetry of the spaces between the artwork, and I think that makes it just, from a feng shui standpoint, just more appealing to the eye. And I get that question a lot too. So anyways, I've tried to answer as many questions as I can, as many come to mind. I hope that you enjoyed this view of the artwork here at Wayne Manor North. I really, really appreciate you coming by and checking out the video. Part 2 of 3, of course. The next one I'm going to talk about comic books and some other books in my collection. But that one will be coming soon. I hope you enjoyed this, guys. Have a great rest of your day. If you haven't subscribed to the Batman Statue Collector channel, please do. I think you're going to find the content here is awesome. Just a phenomenal community of people that I couldn't be prouder to be a part of. And so please do that. Please like the video if you enjoyed the content. And I will see you soon for part 3. Bye, guys.